But let's move into the mock draft 3.0. We're going to start off 1 through 10. Before we do that, check out patreon.com/mostvaluedpodcast if you want to support us. And also, don't forget to put comments and reactions down in the section below, or tweet at us at mostvaluedpod if you're listening to on iTunes or Stitcher. We do want to hear your reactions because we're going to have a mailbag next week. We're going to react to the ones that incite the most conversation. So if you have a take about Ricky's mock draft, Dave's mock draft, my mock draft, or about any of the prospects that we're talking about 1 through 10, also in the following segments 11 through 20, 21 through 30, definitely let them known in the comments below, and we'll react to them next week. But Ricky, start us off. We are using the Tankathon standings as of 2/16. Ricky,
go. No, I think number one, the Suns. They got to make some moves. They got to shock some people, guys. Zion Williamson, too mainstream for the Phoenix Suns. They're gonna go with a guy I really like, though. They're gonna go Lewis King at number one. We're gonna go Lewis King.
We're gonna go with patreon.com/mostvaluedpodcast at number one.
No, but honestly, Zion Williamson, number one to the Suns. Number two, I got the Knicks going with Cam Reddish, his fellow teammate out of Duke. Cavs going to go with R.J. Barrett, the third Dookie, 1, 2, 3. My Bulls going with Ja Morant, point guard out of Murray State. Then Jarrett Culver of Texas Tech going to the Atlanta Hawks at 5. Then at 6, the Grizzlies. They need someone. They're going to take Rui Hachimura, the forward.
They will literally take anyone, apparently.
Really, I looked at that and I went, they could go anybody right here.
We know sold that and first joke because it was really shit, but that was good.
And Rui's the guy that I like for them at 6. Number 7, DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia going to the Wizards. Pelicans going with Darius Garland, point guard out of Vandy. Then Ball to the Hawks via the Mavs at 9, and then Romeo Langford out of Indy going to the Magic at 10.
I got a comment about this 1 through 10, but I got to save it until after Dave's. Dave, give us
about
1 through 10.
My 1 through 10?
Yeah, I had both of yours. Dave, go.
Yikes. My number 1, I've got the Suns taking Zion Williamson, obviously. 2, the Knicks going R.J. Barrett. 3, the Cavs going Cam Reddish. 4, the Bulls will be taking Ja Morant. And number 5, the Hawks will be taking Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. 6, I've got the Grizzlies taking Darius Garland. 7, I've got the Wizards going with DeAndre Hunter. At 8, the Pelicans will be drafting Romeo Langford. 9, the Hawks taking Jackson Hayes, popping up first time in the lottery. And at number 10, Magic taking Keldon Johnson.
You fucking Bulls fans. You guys both rigged this to have Ja Morant go in the Bulls, and you both know it.
No, I did not.
There is no way in hell. You're smiling like a piece of shit, and you're trying to act like it.
No.
You have Cam Reddish too.
Yeah, I'll defend it. When we get to the Knicks, I will defend it.
You for sure know that Ja Morant's a better pro prospect than Cam Reddish.
And I will defend it when we get to the Knicks.
For the past,
I know what I'm doing.
3 months, you have thought Ja Morant's been better than Cam Reddish.
I will explain it when we get there, Sean. Trust me. I'm coming ready.
Very interesting.
Guns are loaded for this one.
Very interesting how Ja Morant lands to the Bulls at 4 for both Bulls fans. Anyways, let's go.
Didn't think it was going to happen coming in, but hey, I'll set the record straight.
I saw that for Dave, and Dave didn't even try to deny it because I knew what he did.
I'm not.
1 through 10 for me. Suns at 1. Zion Williamson, forward out of Duke. 2, Knicks going with R.J. Barrett, forward out of Duke. 3, Cavs going with Ja Morant out of Murray State. 4, Bulls going with Cam Reddish. 4, Hawks going with Jarrett Culver. 6, the Grizzlies going with Darius Garland. 7, the Wizards going with DeAndre Hunter. 8, the Pelicans going with Rui Hachimura. 9, the Hawks via the Magic going with Keldon Johnson. And 10, the Magic going with Romeo Langford out of Indiana. We don't need to talk about Zion. Zion's going to fit with the Suns. I mean, there's no way you shouldn't be picking him at number 1.
Yeah.
Eric, our patron who was supposed to be on this week, had to pull out due to some personal issues. We totally understand. He wanted to do the argument of Ja Morant over Zion Williamson, and then he DM me today saying I couldn't make an argument. There's just no argument for him.
I wanted to ask you, for the Suns only, because the Suns have been a team we have talked about ad nauseum where they need a point guard.
Okay.
Are they the only team where you could at least make an argument for Ja over Zion at 1? Are they the only team? Because I almost did it. I thought about it for 3 literal seconds and then put Zion
You're thinking about putting Ja Morant number 1.
Yes.
But you're dropping him all the way to 4.
Well, the other the other fits, there are.
You don't take fits. Fits don't matter in a draft. You go potential.
You
know this. You said it on the podcast. You bullshit your way to Ja Morant to the Bulls.
You look at the other 2 teams, and there are reasons why they would not go Ja Morant.
Come on. No, there's no argument for Ja over Zion Williamson. Zion's a transcendental player, and I think Ja Morant can be, but Zion Williamson is 6'7", 285 pounds. The only thing is just worrying about injuries. But also, you look at their numbers, Zion's pretty much putting up similar stats to Ja Morant, but he's doing it against ACC competition, not MVC competition. There's no argument for Zion.
I don't know, Sean. You're being kind of hypocritical there, saying... coming at the people that are like, why would you want Ja Morant, who's come out of Murray State before, and now you're bashing
but I'm saying, like,
Murray State competition.
If you're looking at what Zion's doing against this level of competition night in, night out, he's consistently being just the best player on the floor. And it's not even in the same way. He's consistently finding the way to be the best player on the floor in multiple different ways. There's no argument to not have him at number one. Now, I'm saying people who are trashing Ja Morant for not being a good pro prospect, because he's coming out of Murray State. That's bullshit.
Okay.
If he fails, it's because Ja Morant failed. It's not because he went to Murray State. But the thing with Zion, compared to Ja Morant, like Zion's dominating better competition, and it's like it's just clear that he's going to step in as a pro. He's going to be a contributor right away. And not saying that Ja Morant can't be or won't be, but it's just that Zion in every single way affects the floor and affects the game. We saw that against the Virginia, where he's literally flying from the right elbow, going to the left corner and blocks a shot.
He jumped
wide open for shot if anyone else
to block a 3-point shot. Basically, it was incredible. How about the comeback game? The leadership that he had instilled in that game. Obviously, Coach K went out there and was like, "I don't coach losers."
I love that post game where he said that.
Great line, but it took the effort out of the guys on the floor, and Ja was one of those leaders who pushed the rest of his team to get better throughout that game. Yeah, Zion. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Ja. You're right. Zion.
You think of Jaleel. Jaleel hasn't been at Duke for a while, Dave.
Been a bit.
Anyways, no, there is no argument for Ja Morant over Zion Williamson. If you try to make it, it's a hot take.
You're just wrong at this point.
And you're just
wrong. It's not a hot take. You're just wrong.
All right. Well, I can't argue that.
I'm the biggest Ja lover of the group, and I'll even admit, like, it's one, and then it's not even close.
Mm-hmm. Let's move to 2, though, because there is a little bit of a difference, and there is an argument. Knicks, I have him going with R.J. Barrett. Dave has him going with R.J. Barrett. Ricky, coming with the Cam Reddish sheet. There's a lot of people online who don't even think he's top 5 worth.
And I'm one of those people where I'm not super high on Cam Reddish. But
why do you have him at 2? What?
Because a mock draft is different than, like, on a big board, he's not going to be 2. He's not even going to be 3 on a big board for me. But... here, listen to me when it comes to the Knicks.
I'm listening.
There is going to be some political games being played if you are the Knicks in this draft. If you don't get the number 1 pick and you're not going Zion, you got 2 things you got to worry about. Number 1, Ja Morant, because you were really big on why I didn't have Ja going number 2. Mm-hmm. Well, number 1, the Kristaps trade changes that. You now have Dennis Smith Jr. Are you just going to draft a Ja Morant? That's one decision that you have to make.
I'm going to answer it really quickly and honestly. Yes, look at Dallas. That's the reason why Dennis Smith Jr. is on the Knicks.
Well, there's a reason why I traded for him, and I have Frank on this team too. I don't need a third point guard to kind of create a logjam there. That's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, the thing is, and this kind of also plays into the Ja thing as well, New York's got bigger things on the mind. They're not worried about, like, of course they want to tank for Zion. That is the goal. But their biggest cash prize and why they put Mitch Robinson on the season ticket website to renew season tickets, they got Kevin Durant on the mind. They got Kyrie Irving on the mind. They've got big free agents. And I looked at it. Number 1, Ja. I'm not going to bring him in. I've got 2 point guards that I'm assuming they are happy with, Dennis Smith and Frank. And then number 2, why would I bring in a guy who's got the Mamba mentality that R.J. Barrett says he has when I'm going to potentially target Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who are also could be ball-dominant guys? That doesn't mesh with me. Let me go with the kid that's shown some good flashes and have had some good games, who doesn't have to be ball dominant in Cam Reddish.
The NBA draft happens before NBA free agency.
I know.
So if you go out and you're saying if you're saying we are doing the strategy of taking the worst player out of the there's 2 other better players available for sure, other better players in RJ Barrett and Ja Morant on the table. You are going to pass them up just because you might have a chance to sign Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
That's the
what
thing.
If you do not get them? You just took the worst player.
It's a gamble.
And you did not get... It's
a gamble.
It's a stupid gamble.
I don't think it's a stupid gamble.
Why not take RJ Barrett and then just trade him away if you sign Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? That's literally what the Cavs did with
Wiggins.
You could do that, but for me, what's sense, the
last best
Cam would be the one
they've picked up.
We've had this argument before. Like, the whole thing of just because they haven't had a free agent go there doesn't mean Kevin Durant for sure is not going to go there. I think in my mind, Kevin Durant will be a New York Knick next year. That is why I put Cam Reddish at number 2.
Besides
it's
rumors.
just a feeling I have. Like, I have a feeling he's not going to re-sign with Golden State. He's bored with all of that. And I feel like he is going to be enticed. He's going to be enticed to go to New York to try to do something that no one else has done. That's why I have Cam Reddish over a Ja, over an RJ.
Man, I like really staying under 240 pounds, and another ring's just going to really outweigh me. I'm going to be around 242, and it's going to be really pushing my pressure. Come on. Like, yes, you can go to New York and do something no one's ever done. But also, how many players who are going to be Hall of Famers are going into the Hall of Fame with 4+ rings? If he stays in Golden State, he's going to get 5 rings. How many guys could say that? The last player to do it and retire with that many rings or that level of rings, I think, was Kobe Bryant, right? Am I wrong with that?
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan?
At 4?
Was he
But he's all like,
I feel like
Kevin
I'm confused.
Durant has
I feel like he
also
should be at
made
4.
comments too where he's giving off the vibe of ring chasing is not what he's going to do. Like, because if he wins,
ring chasing, he's just winning.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if he stays in Golden State, it's how many rings can I get?
For Duncan.
Whereas in his mind, it's not how many rings can I get. It's I need to be better than LeBron when it's all said and done. And how do you do that? You do something that LeBron has never done, that nobody has ever done.
I think
bring a championship in so long to New York. Like, we rag on how long New York hasn't been without. And it's closer to home. I just have a feeling. Do I know Kevin Durant? Do I know for sure if it's going to happen? No. But I just have a feeling that's going to happen. And in this mock, I was looking at going, if I'm getting Durant and then hopefully I'm getting Kyrie, Cam Reddish is the guy I would pair with them, not RJ, not Ja Morant.
No, that's understandable. That if you had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on a team, you would want a player like Cam Reddish. Also, however, to just combat that a little bit, Cam Reddish is horrible at catch and shooting. So that's most likely what he'd be doing.
He's not the
He's
worst.
like 26% shooting on catch and shoots. He's not that great at doing it, and he can get better
with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he can get better.
100%.
So if he's better with the ball in his hands, then why would you draft him with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? You know what? He's not going to see the ball.
He will see the ball. Come on. Do you see what the Celtics are doing right now? When Kyrie's out there,
not even first.
Their third option's getting touches. Their fourth option's getting touches.
But that's also Brad Stevens is the coach.
Touches.
That's a different coach.
I understand.
That's a different system.
I know. Grit and grind, baby. Grit and grind in New York, though.
I'm just saying that with
they got room.
If you're picking it too,
my argument is
you got to take 10.
I'm cool if you think that Cam is a better prospect than RJ. If that's your argument, fine, because Cam athletically is superior to RJ Barrett. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. But also potential-wise, he could be special. And that's something we talked about very early in the season. I know he hasn't lived up to that. This has been a kind of bounce-back month for him from a draft stock perspective, at least. He's played better in recent performances. But it's still to the point of, like, do you think he still has that Paul George high end to him? And you could make the argument that RJ Barrett, at his worst, could be Tim Hardaway Jr. all over again.
And see, that's the thing where, like, for me, I feel like 1 and 2, and this is me going into big board mindset right now, not mock draft, because yes, teams like, if I have 5 point guards on my team, I'm not going to draft another one. I know that no team has 5 point guards, but I'm just making that statement
might have
there.
5 under contract right now.
The thing that I would look at if I'm going big board, not mock draft, Zion and Ja are 1-2. Cam and RJ, I don't know really which one I would want to put, like, because RJ on his great nights has what you want, that Mamba mentality, as he said.
He
and when
takes
he's
over game.
Clicking on all cylinders, that is what you want, a player who can take over a game.
Yeah.
But when he is not, I don't want him on my team. But when Cam Reddish is clicking, he's a player that I'm like, man, I would really like on my team. And the thing with Cam that I keep seeing is, like, when Zion is off the floor and it's just like Cam and RJ, Cam looks better. I'm like, wow, like in the St. John's games I'm watching, it's like Zion's on the floor. I'm like, man, Cam's not looking too good. Then Zion goes to the bench. He had like fouls or whatever the reason was. And then I'm like, all right, Cam's playing a lot better. And I'm like, oh, wait, Zion's not on the floor. Why the Florida State game?
It's because
who
he
wasn't
touches
on the
ball
floor.
more.
And that's the thing.
So
where with Duke, it's
and that's the thing. If he plays with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, he's going to touch the ball less than if he plays on the Cavs with Colin Sexton.
I don't think so because I think
How? Who else is touching the ball on the Cavs besides Cam Reddish and Colin Sexton?
You're telling
you're
me
going to give the ball to Jordan Clarkson?
It's all about the system then at that point. Like it's all on Fizdale at that point. You look at the Warriors. They have how many All-Stars? They all touch the ball. No one is like, yeah, there might be games where...
How many teams like the Warriors have there been in NBA
No,
history?
I'm just saying, like, that's where Kevin Durant is, so that's where I talk about him. Look about what Boston with Kyrie. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum seem to be doing just fine with Kyrie.
Jaylen Brown was literally... People were talking about him falling off the cliff for the first 3 months.
To find his role on the bench.
Okay,
and
which
he was
he
hurt,
did.
But he also had a hand injury.
I'm just saying, you bring up Jaylen Brown. He also has been fine for the past 2 games. What's that?
I'm defending Jaylen Brown.
After we bashed him,
like I'm on a weird Celtics roll as of late. Ricky, I think I want to hit you back with your line for RJ Barrett. You got to go basic bitch. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And I think that's RJ Barrett is like at his worst, he's an inefficient chucker. But at his best, he takes over games. He has some clutchness to it, and he has a desire. Like, he has that factor to him.
And with that, we keep talking about, Cam Reddish's high point, and we're not talking about his low point.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we've brought up for RJ Barrett is his low point. You're saying Tim Hardaway Jr., right?
I mean, I just, because of New York, I want to make that comp.
But the low point that you brought up was RJ Barrett, and we haven't talked about his high point. With Cam Reddish, we've only talked about his high point being Paul George. If we have to compare RJ Barrett to his highest high, the highest possible high he can be, and I'm not saying he would ever reach this. I'm not saying that it's touchable because he's one of the top 10 players of all time. We keep saying Mamba mentality, right? So I'm just saying, like, if we're saying top, then, I mean, that'd be Kobe. So who would you rather have, Kobe or Paul George?
I mean, if out of those players, yes, Kobe. But the thing that you got to think about, and I do...
I'm not saying RJ is going to be Kobe, and I'm not saying Cam is going to be Paul George. But we keep saying Mamba mentality. If he hits his peak of Mamba mentality,
yes, your thing of like, oh, I'll draft RJ, and then if I get Durant and Kyrie, I'll trade RJ. Yes, you can do that. But for the sake of this mock draft, we don't do that. So because we don't do that, that's why I have Cam Reddish going to the Knicks.
But that's still you can still defend if you think RJ Barrett's a better prospect and would give you more trade value, then why you could still pick him in a mock draft and say, this is like you could still I'm picking him with the mentality that I'm going to trade him. You could still do that.
Yeah, no, but we don't do trades, and therefore
yes, but the
I would rather
even if they draft,
it's not even a draft night trade.
That's the thing. That's my point. It's not a draft night trade. Yeah. You have to sign Kyrie and KD first.
I've got a surprise coming up later that's assuming a trade's going to happen.
No, but I mean, there's that. But I mean, I have that too. But I mean, with this one, I looked at it and I went into the mind of the Knicks and I said, I'm not going to go that route, and I'm going to go with the route knowing and being a little bit stubborn of, yes, we are going to get these guys, and that's why I didn't go RJ.
All right.
I think RJ would be a great fit in New York because I don't think they're gonna sign KD and Kyrie Irving, and even if they do, they can trade him and get a bigger haul than they can for Cam Reddish. That's the way I'm defending it. RJ has better
We're gonna paint your face blue and orange if he signs this year. We're gonna do that like last year.
If the New York Knicks sign Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I'll do it. Okay. If they sign both of them and both players, not two superstars, if they sign both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I will buy an Allen Houston Knicks jersey.
Can we shave your eyebrow? Just one.
We could shave 2 clips off my eyebrows. They have to be even, but I'll go pretty in. No, I'm not doing eyebrows.
I'm going like top down. A chunk.
I'll do something with my facial hair. I'm not doing something with my eyebrows.
Eyebrows or facial hair?
No, like facial, face, beard.
We'll negotiate terms.
You want to shave both your eyebrows?
And we could pick a worse Knicks player than Allen Houston because Allen Houston was kind of decent.
Exactly. We'll find something.
We could pick an Eddie Curry. I'll do an Eddie Curry Knicks jersey.
Of course, you're just knocking on the Bulls while knocking on the Knicks. I see what you're doing.
I'm trying to think of bad Knicks players. Like, who else would be a bad Knicks player? Kuzmakis. What was his name?
Mindaugas Kuzmakis?
Yeah, I'll fucking get
Kuzminskis? I think I can't pronounce his name.
I'll get his bum ass jersey. Come on. Anyways, I think RJ would be. Yeah. If you're talking about,
I like RJ. I think the case is still there though for Cam being his equal at times. Like upside considered, I think they're very close. I really do. I know you want to make the Paul George versus Kobe comparison, but like I think they both have a relatively close upside. And I think on the downside, if Cam gets better at catch and shoot, he's already great defensively. He can guard 2 through 4.
Yeah.
RJ can't stay locked in 2 through 4 like he can. So you get a more versatile player in Cam Reddish.
Yeah, and that's why
if his shot's not falling, he's still able to contribute at a high level.
Kobe thing doesn't work at all.
Yeah, because Kobe was all defense.
Yeah, Kobe was a great defender.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and clearly Cam has that upside on him. And there isn't really a comparison for RJ Barrett because he's like worst level Kobe, but I think he's better than a Tim Hardaway Jr. Like he's a 1, but he's not a 1 to that level.
I literally only picked Tim Hardaway just because of the Knicks.
Yeah, but I don't know what player type he would be. Like, you know, kind of a poor defender, but not super efficient like a Kevin Durant, but a scorer like Kevin Durant, like on the wing. Because
I don't know.
I don't know what wings there are, like slashing wings that do that well.
It's fair.
Maybe LeBron scoring only.
Man,
Some big shoes to fill.
But LeBron's scoring only. That's why. Because like LeBron brings the whole package of leadership. He brings the whole package of rebounding, assist, passing.
The only thing I would throw out there
trying
was...
to think of because LeBron's not the most efficient shooter.
I mean, you could say Carmelo Anthony-esque.
Okay, I wouldn't hate that. But I think
Melo is a better scorer. I think.
Yeah, but RJ's a better driver.
Yeah.
RJ's better.
Yeah,
like,
Melo had that fucking step back.
Yeah, Melo
jab
was
step, jab
also
step,
bigger.
jab step, jab step.
Yeah.
Jab step.
But that's the thing is like I don't think there's a clear
yeah.
player
No, I agree.
comparison for RJ Barrett.
And there never will be. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the Knicks though?
No, I just think that theirs is going to be very interesting because if they don't get one, it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
I agree.
Yeah, I disagree with Cam Reddish going 2. Anyways, let's go to the Cavs. I have them going John Morant. Dave, you have them going Cam Reddish. Ricky, you have them going RJ Barrett. Obviously, you already kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
At least you guys didn't have them going John Morant, and I know you guys both like John Morant better than you like Cam Reddish and RJ Barrett both. So at least talk about why the Cavs wouldn't go with the John Morant, because I have them going with John Morant. So why wouldn't the Cavs go John Morant?
I don't know if they're willing to dive back to the well to get another point guard the following year. And again, this is something that I know I might get crucified for because it's like, how early can you give up on a prospect? And what we've seen so far out of Colin Sexton has been good, but not good enough to win them games, obviously. I understand that team is obviously hurting with, obviously, the injuries from Kevin Love, but also the constant turnover, and their intention is to lose games at the end of the day anyway. So minutes restrictions are hilarious. But with that being said, I don't know if they give up on Colin Sexton early enough. He's good with the ball in his hands. Defensively, he's engaged. I like what he can do, but I just don't know that they want to go ahead and make a redundant pick and then have to try to make a move a la the Mavs, what they were able to do to get rid of Dennis Smith Jr. I don't know if they would be nearly as successful, obviously. I mean, that was striking gold, potentially, getting KP there.
Well,
but,
and plus Gilbert is stubborn.
Yeah. So
like he's not going to admit that he was wrong on a prospect.
I believe they would go to try to fill out that roster starting lineup first. Like, Jetty's been good, but he's by far the worst player on that World game. I don't know if you guys watched the World versus USA during the All-Star break, but yeah, he was terrible. He was like the only bad player in there. I feel bad for saying that, but he was. So I think they go for wing. That's their clear need right now. They've got another pick later in this draft. So go for a guy like Cam Reddish. He's got upside. He's not redundant in any aspect. He's someone who, if he is better with the ball in his hands, he could take over this Cavs team and help lead them to building a young group going forward. And I want to see another year out of Colin Sexton still. Honestly, I don't know that I'm ready to give up on him. I'm not super high on him at the same time though. So it's kind of a mixed feelings. I don't know that I would take that dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like mine was the same thing. Where first I thought that Gilbert's not stubborn enough to say, "Oh, I know I drafted a point guard last year, but I'm going to go with this point guard." Like that in his mind would be saying, "I was wrong last year," and he wouldn't want to do that. Number two, you got to look at the point guards they're still going to have under contract next year, and the thing that you don't do is draft a John Morant or a Colin Sexton and expect them to be the backup. And one of them would have to be the backup. And then you've got Jordan Clarkson still there. You've got Dellavedova that you trade for. You've got Brandon Knight. When Dave was right, the wings are there. And for me, the Mamba mentality is there. That would be perfect for Cleveland because then you can still have Colin Sexton there and you have a guy who can be the face of your franchise in RJ Barrett.
They took on, what's-his-face, Delly, because they wanted to get George Hill's contract off, and
Yeah.
Kelly was a cheaper contract,
But
and
they
Bucks
still
didn't want
have him.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you're fine benching him. Same with Brandon Knight. Jordan Clarkson is on the books next year, but he's better as a sixth man anyways. I think that, and JR is not going to be on the team most likely next year. Nwaba's contract's up, Stouts' contract up. So I think that you can draft John Morant and still start Colin Sexton. Now it's going to be a small backcourt because you're both playing guys who are under 6'3", or John Morant's, I think, right now at 6'3", might clock in at 6'4" or 6'5" with shoes or something like that. But
Yeah.
I think you can play both guys on the floor. Also, Dan Gilbert's not making the choices. It's good old Kobe Altman. And I think the biggest thing with that is you look at when they drafted Colin Sexton, and yes, they took him 8th overall. But that also wasn't their pick. And they really needed to take a person there because this was a young team, young asset. They're not going to trade that young asset. This wasn't like a team. You're building a team around LeBron James. Let's take the best player available.
It was at the time. At the time, it was.
Yeah, but
remember,
I think
remember the draft.
Yeah,
Colin Sexton. Let's go win one, LeBron.
But let's go talk about but that's Colin Sexton's idea.
I'm just saying. They needed a point guard on that LeBron team. They drafted a point guard.
But I think they also were doing it with the backup plan in mind of LeBron might not be coming here. Let's take the best player available. And I think most people agree at the time.
I don't know if he was the best player available.
Who do you think would make the argument? I think most of us had Colin Sexton mocked there because I think most of us thought he was at least the best fit and player at that time. I think you looking back, obviously there can be an argument for some players. Like Kevin Knox obviously was an interesting player. Then I think Shea Gilgeous was an interesting player there.
Yeah.
But I think they were going to go point guard anyways because they traded Kyrie. But even then, I think they thought Colin Sexton could be the next at least guy in some point, or at least be a next part of the team that they're growing.
Yeah. Had they known LeBron was leaving, do you think they would have taken a shot at a Kevin Porter Jr.?
Michael Porter
Jr.?
No, because I think of his back injury.
Yeah, but I mean that's what I'm saying. If they knew LeBron wasn't coming back, do you think they take a shot and like
if he was coming back,
we can get a draft pick and then we're gonna tank again and get another top pick without even having to do anything?
No, because I think you wanted a player that would help you at some point, and you don't know if Michael Porter Jr. was going to help you at some point.
I just think if you're a gambling man, that could be an interesting proposition.
I just think that wasn't their pick.
Yep.
They needed to make that Kyrie trade look somewhat decent.
Yep.
So let's take the best player that we think is on the board. Let's take Colin Sexton, and yes, maybe LeBron stays and he's got a point guard to work with.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, we weren't really thinking that Colin Sexton and LeBron James are going to work together anyways because Colin Sexton could play off ball.
Yeah, no, who's a bench defensive point guard?
I think it was pretty much an idea of if LeBron stays, maybe we can move him for a piece, like what the Knicks should be. What the Knicks should be doing with the KD and Kyrie Irving possibility. So I think they were just forced to take a trade because they got that from the Celtics trade. They took Colin Sexton. I don't think they're in love with Colin Sexton. And I think that if you're in love with a player, you need to take him. And right now, I'm in love with John Morant. If John Morant's on the board at 3, there's no way I'm passing him up, especially if Colin Sexton's on the board. Let's look at what just happened with Luka Doncic and Dennis Smith Jr. They took him the year prior. And yes, they're not exactly the same player position. And Colin Sexton and John Morant have more of an overlap. But that doesn't mean that you pass up on that talent just because you have a guy who may be less talented but just plays the same position. Talent's talent. You don't pass up talent. John Morant's the pick for me.
Well, and what's funny is I'm looking at last year's, the last 6.0, so where we ended individually before the draft happened. David 8 had Colin Sexton going to the Cavs. I had 8 had Trae Young because Colin Sexton didn't go until 11 for me. That's because I had some weird trades going on in the top. Yeah, our 6.0. The
Cavs weren't at 10.
The Cavs were at 8, but I had them at, they were at 8.
My 6.0 has the Cavs at 10.
Because I'll get to that.
Okay.
That was the wonky one.
You had a trade where the 76ers traded with the Cavs.
Gotcha.
Sixers took Mikal Bridges at 8. Cavs took Miles Bridges at 10. And you had Colin Sexton going at 11. So you were the one that was like, nope, Cavs don't need a point guard. Like, Cavs shouldn't go point guard when Dave and I were on the point guard train for last year. So, and you look at the actual
you were high on
draft.
Bridges and him being a future forward for this team moving forward. I get it.
You look at who they could have taken: Kevin Knox, Mikal Bridges. Shea was kind of like, I would say, a little high for the Charlottes. I didn't expect him to go at 11.
I did.
And then Miles Bridges. Like, those were the next 4 taken after Colin Sexton, where Cleveland, the point is you
Porter
made
Jr.
this pick. Well, and Porter Jr., but the injury, we didn't know who was going to take a stab at him the night of draft.
I think the
night.
reason why I didn't go point guard last year for the Cavs was because I thought LeBron was going to
Coming back.
stay.
Yeah.
You were
And
very
then
hard on
Miles,
that trade.
then that Miles Bridges was going to be able to play off ball.
Yeah.
And then not only shooting but also driving. And then I ended up taking 2 guards anyways, in Shamet and Diallo to the Cavs because with that
Those
trade,
would have
they ended up getting
been
them.
good picks.
Yeah.
And
Kogi went 38 to the Kings. That would have been nasty.
And just one last thing to kind of think about, and this is kind of minutes-wise, and why I would go with an RJ over a Ja Morant is right now this year, yes, Jordan Clarkson is their 6th man, but he's averaging 27 a minute, and he's their leading scorer. You've got Colin Sexton, who's starting, averaging 30, like he should as a starter, but then it's what's after that. Like right now, Brandon Knight in 3 games is averaging 14 minutes. You're going to bring in Ja, and he's going to take up minutes. Is that going to cut into Clarkson's minutes? Are you going to take
Doesn't
the
matter.
14 from... Like, I think it does.
Why?
Because
you're a young team that you right now. Brandon Knight's on your team right now because he just needed to fill salary
He has a bad
space.
contract, yeah.
Yes.
Salary space, and you got
I'm saying
you got
it-
picks for it.
I'm saying
I
it
believe.
matters in the sense of between Clarkson, Ja, then, and Sexton, because first off, Sexton and Ja, they both need time out there on the court in the right situations. I don't know if you're going to play both of them together, but they need to be out there in the right
Well, they're gonna
situations
start. They're both
Let's start
gonna
with
start.
that.
to
Can you?
mature. And then you've got Jordan Clarkson, who's obviously playing well, and you're going to put him out there.
Clarkson's like Lou Will, though. Like, he's forever a 6th man. He'll
Yeah.
get his minutes. I'm not worried about that.
That's
How
my
do you
thing.
think the pairing works, though, with Colin
I would-
Sexton and John Morant together?
I would be interested in it because I think it's going to be the same thing that we talked about with Luka and Dennis Smith Jr. last year. Of can Dennis Smith Jr. play off ball when Luka's controlling the ball?
Yeah.
And it clearly turned out that they couldn't. It wasn't a great pairing. And Dennis Smith Jr. I think wanted the ball more in his hands, and he wasn't getting those opportunities. But Luka Doncic was that talent that just exceeded.
Yeah.
The
He was a better
potential.
ball handler.
He was a better ball handler, better facilitator, but
Yeah.
a better basketball player.
Absolutely.
And I think again, it doesn't really matter of how are you going to try to fit them. It's just can they fit, and if they don't fit, who's the better talent, and move away from them. And if they do fit, then great, we have 2 great guards.
Yeah.
And I think that so far, Colin Sexton has impressed me a little bit with how well of a shooter he has been. I thought he was going to be much worse than what he is. I'm not saying that he's a great shooter at all, but he, shooting 39% on 3 attempts per game is much better than I thought. I think he's being selective with his shots.
Yeah.
And I think having a better creator than you have on this team right now in John Morant will even open up those lanes a little bit more for Colin Sexton to get even more open threes. So I think that playing him as a 2 guard would be interesting. And I think John Morant would then have to cover 2s defensively just because I think he's quicker and bigger.
I just put Colin on whoever's better, like offensively, because Colin's a great defender. That's the thing. Like Ja is athletic, yes, but like Colin Sexton's built like a bull. Like I go back to the like bull in a China shop for Colin Sexton.
I'm just
He's
worrying
still just
size-wise.
physically built.
And
So
but I'm worrying size-wise, and then also I think something that Ja has over Colin Sexton is anticipation of jumping lanes.
He does.
And if we're talking
He
about
does.
ones, Colin Sexton manning up ones and then having Ja playing off ball a little bit more to possibly create more transition pieces and transition plays. I think that would be something that I would definitely look at.
Could be
look at.
interesting, yeah.
And also having the bigger body in John Morant. I know obviously like, at least taller and lengthwise, closing out shooters might be a little bit easier for him compared to Sexton, who might be better on ball. But how would he do off ball and going around screens? So I think defensively it would be an interesting pair. And then I think at least, they can switch off with ball handling abilities, but also John Morant's a better passer than he is. So I think maybe the transition would be Colin Sexton to an offensive 2 guard.
yeah, I mean, but who cares anyway? Because then the Cavs are going to be back at the top of the draft next
Cavs
year.
suck.
Well,
It doesn't
they're gonna be
matter who's
right
getting
back.
minutes.
Well, and that's why, for me, it comes down to just the crux of it. And with you answering that and saying, yes, they could be out there at the same time, for me, I know in mine, RJ is still there, and your guys, it's not. But for me, it's, all right, RJ's still there. If I can play Ja and Colin Sexton at the same time, why not go get a wing in RJ? And if I can play Ja with Sexton, I'll play RJ with Sexton instead.
If the Knicks go with John Morant at 2, and they they don't think Kyrie's going to come there, or any free agent guard, then yeah, I mean if the possibility of Kyrie Irving is not there and they like Ja better, then the Knicks would take Ja 1, and then clearly John Morant or RJ Barrett would slide to 3.
But let's be
Like,
real,
again, he's
boys.
not on the
John
board.
Morant's going to the Bulls at 4.
He is.
You guys are just such a fucking homer pick.
I mean,
Dave's,
you're
admitting
it makes sense for
I
the
can't
Bulls.
not giggle.
You're admitting it.
When I look at the draft, I made my points. I think the Knicks would be better off with RJ Barrett, who...
So do I.
Yeah.
You don't have to argue
Yep. Cavs, I like going for a wing prospect because I don't know... I've not given up on Colin Sexton. I don't love him, but I'm afraid that if they did pick up Ja Morant, they would have a more of a problem, less of a return on their investment on Colin Sexton than what Dennis Smith Jr. did for the Mavs.
Which makes me chuckle because out of the three of us, I think you aren't you the lowest on Colin Sexton?
I really don't like Colin Sexton, like at all. But I don't.
I mean, even this season, you're like, I'm not convinced on Colin Sexton.
He's garbage Kemba. Like, right? So that's where I'm like, I don't know that they would get enough back. And I know that's me being, picking fits and trying to plan this out more than we can possibly plan it. But RJ Barrett on a high usage bad team would be a stud. And I think Cam Reddish on a high usage bad team, stud as well. And I think that's the thing that no one has seen yet.
You don't think RJ Barrett or Ja Morant would be a stud as well?
Well, we're watching it right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But that's the problem is they've got 3 guards who are competent enough to warrant minutes. He would not be out there playing 34 minutes a night. That's my thing. Is like, I know you could probably want to take away some of those minutes, but you wouldn't get the return on investments from Colin Sexton. So I'm going go for Cam, see what he can do as the best player on a bad team. I think they're going to move Kevin Love, but
let me ask you this: you're the Knicks, right?
Yep.
Clean slate, clean roster.
Yep.
You have the number 2 pick, Zion Williams is off the board. Who are you taking?
If I've got no one on my roster,
No one on your roster. No one. You're just starting fresh. NBA's brand new. These are the kids that you have to start.
Ja Morant.
Thank you.
Because that's a big board pick.
Who do you think is the second most talented player in the
It's
draft?
Ja Morant.
Okay.
It's my big board, number 2.
All right.
I mean, but we've both said that. I even said Ja Morant would be number 2 on my big board.
I'm bringing this up because on this podcast, Davis brought up the fact that it's the NBA draft. It doesn't matter about need. It doesn't matter about fit. You take potential, especially when they're this high.
And
so I just want to make that clear.
It's not. It doesn't matter. It's how it weighs out. You have to factor those things in. And I swear to God, I've given you guys enough lectures on this. I'm not doing it again this episode.
I'll help you out with this one. And the reason why is I just think
that you guys both wanted Ja Morant in the Bulls.
I do.
No, with me, it honestly
enough to flip it.
Sean, you know me. I am a homer to where if that was the case, and I really wanted Morant to the Bulls, I would tell you. I would tell you that's what I did, but I was not. With me, it was number 2. At first, I thought about Ja at 1 for like 3 seconds, like I said. I was like, ooh, they do need a point guard. Could they do it over Williamson? And then I looked at their team and went, no. You could play Zion and DeAndre Ayton together, so you're getting Zion. Then with the Knicks, the Kristaps trade is the crux of it, where you go ahead and get a point guard. You don't give up your point guard. So now you have 2 point guards from the same draft that obviously I'm expecting you to like those 2 guys if you kept one and traded the other. Plus, you're going to want to go out and get KD's on the mind. Kyrie might be a little bit fainter than Kevin Durant because there's also that Laker kind of, could he go to the Lakers? Could he stay with Boston? I go with Cam Reddish only because of the Kevin Durant stuff, and that's why I went with Cam Reddish there. Then the Cavs, I just drafted a point guard last year. I'm going to go with RJ Barrett, who can be dominant, and that's why the Bulls
I'm just saying, the fact that the 2 Bulls fans who both love Ja Morant shockingly have the player that I think who's on their big boards at 2, have him going to 4 to their team. I'm just saying, it's suspicious.
Should I have him go to 5 to the Hawks? Should I have
that really show Sean?
Yeah, I'm just saying the fact that you're saying I'd take him at 1, but he's gonna fall to 4 to my team. I'm just saying and you're a person who's just hoping the Bulls land at number 1 at the lottery. If they don't,
I do.
Oh, number 2, we get Ja Morant.
I do.
Your thought is it's Zion at 1, and if not, it's hopefully we get Ja Morant. Well, and so even if the Bulls are at 2, you're not putting Cam Reddish there. Even if the Bulls land at 2, you're not putting RJ Barrett there. You're putting Ja Morant there. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that you guys did this.
Is different than the Cavs and the Knicks. Our outlook is different. Our free agency picture is different.
Well, and
that's why I'm not saying you guys did it on purpose. I'm just saying, what a coincidence.
I did.
Well, I actually have a question.
Thank you.
I opened up my draft and I went, Ja Morant, Bulls, done.
I have a question for you
Zion
then, Sean, because since you had Ja going before, and this is a question I have had with the Bulls since like the Otto Porter trade. Now that it seems like
Should they
point
trade
guards
back?
are main one. No, not trade back.
Okay.
If Ja's off the board, should we look at it and go, you know what? I like Darius Garland. Let's take Garland at 4 instead of a Cam Reddish.
Chris Dunn is still there, and you still have a point guard that is fairly young, and Cam Reddish is a better player than Darius Garland is. I thought about that, and yes, Garland's an interesting prospect, but Cam Reddish is not hurt. Darius Garland is, and Cam Reddish is a 6'9" forward who we've already talked about already. Has the ability
Crazy
to create
potential.
with his hands, with the ball in his hands. He has the ability to play great defense. He can be a plus when Zach LaVine really isn't. Zach LaVine's a crazy uber athletic player who has the ability to score, but I think Cam Reddish has more of an ability to be a team player rather than a stat pattern. I'm not saying Zach LaVine is, and even if he is a stat pattern, he's one of the best in the league. But Cam Reddish does provide the ability of great length, great size, great versatility at a very needed position. And some people bring up the fact that they just got Otto Porter, and that could be a little bit of what would say overlap, I guess, in player types.
Yeah.
Especially with Otto Porter, what he's been doing so far with the Bulls with the ball in his hands.
Looking great.
However, Otto Porter has also shown that he can play off ball and can be a great, efficient three-point shooter. And I think having him, Cam, Levine, Chris Dunn, Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr. would be a very formidable, talented team.
So you're drafting Cam to be your 6th man then?
No.
Right?
No? I would move... I guess.
Because you would have Chris Dunn at the 1.
I'd probably have Otto Porter then come off the bench.
Really?
Yeah.
Just go full Suns. Move Zach to the 1.
I mean, he's been a decent passer. I mean, he's averaging like 5 assists this game. I mean, I think even Cam Reddish could be an interesting ball handler too. I think that what it would be Otto Porter probably coming off the bench and getting like 31 minutes a game. And then obviously Chris Dunn getting less minutes and Cam Reddish getting less minutes. But I don't think you can pass up the talent differential that is there between Cam Reddish and Darius Garland just for fit. I think that the fit is obviously clear there for guards, and that's why Ja Morant would be a perfect pick for the Bulls. I'm just saying that's why it's a coincidence that both the Bulls fans put Ja Morant there.
Perfect fit, and it works out sometimes.
It works out, especially when you're controlling it. But I just think that Reddish is just the more talented player, and yes, there's going to be difficulties working out the lineups, and that's why Jim Boylan shouldn't be the head coach. But I think Cam Reddish would be the smart pick for the Bulls. Obviously, you're hoping Ja Morant or Zion Williamson. But even then with Zion, it's going to happen too. If you pick Zion Williamson, you're going to have no problem moving Otto Porter to the bench. So I think you could do the same thing there with Cam Reddish. If we're talking about him going possibly number 2 like you have him in the draft, there's no reason why you wouldn't move Otto Porter to the bench.
Or we experiment and we move Wendell to the bench.
That too.
Maybe.
And have Markkanen at the 4, and then you put Otto at the 4. Markkanen to the 5, Otto to the 4, and the Cam to the 3.
Because honestly, the
That's what
thing
you're
that
thinking,
I'm...
Or, if we get number 1, you Zion, same thing. You rinse and repeat. I mean, you just... We haven't seen the core, finished yet. So I think that saying anybody is a lock yet at their position, no.
I would say even Levine's
There's some
not a lock.
fluidity.
Levine's getting paid a ton, but I don't think Levine's a lock to be on this team long term. And I think Cam, when you get a younger player on a cheaper contract with possibly higher upside who can play better on one end of the court already than the other player, then I think that definitely lends itself to be something that is up in the air to developing the core.
It's very much a conversation.
The core could be younger than it already is. I mean, it could just be Cam, Markkanen, and Wendell Carter, and then you have Levine and Chris Dunn as movable pieces. So I think that's my thoughts with why Cam there. It's just more talent.
You've also intrigued my thought process. I know this is going to be a discussion for a later date, but you've kind of blossomed it in my head right now. Possibly hey, we're not sold on Cam Reddish. Looking at your mock draft.
Oh, you're talking about trading down?
Yeah, we're not.
You brought that up last week.
We're not
that's
up there. Hey, Grizzlies. Hey, Washington. Do you guys like a Cam Reddish? And even if it's like a trade that the Mavericks and Hawks did where we switch picks and get a protected one
I got a
next
deal
year.
for you, actually, that you were throwing out last year. I think it was you can just trade Bobby Portis back to the Bulls and just do a pick swap. It was a joke. because that you would always want to have the Bulls and Grizzlies flip, and you would always include Bobby Portis like he's a valuable
But now
asset.
he's a Wizard.
Yeah, you trade him for a bad contract.
They're a Wizard now.
But yeah, I just
You're a Wizard, Bobby.
again, I think that the top four is pretty solid because those guys are for sure the four best players in my mind.
Yeah.
In this draft, and there's a pretty wide gap. We're talking about this being a bad draft. I think the for sure guys.
Depth-wise, yes.
Yeah, well, I think the for sure, like the four for sure guys are clear, and it's Cam Reddish, John Morant, RJ Barrett, Zion Williamson. And then once you get after that, it's like, are these guys going to be starters or are they going to be bench roles? Because I'm not really sold on any of these guys lower being stars. So let's get into that.
See.
I'm liking more and more of the guys the more we look into it.
Let's see. We look at 5 through 10. I mean, these are the only guys we can look at, so maybe that's why you're liking them more and more. And compared to the other guys that are on this draft, maybe that's why. But let's talk about not really the picks and why they're going there. We all have Culver going to the Hawks. We have Dave and I have Garland going to the Grizzlies. Ricky, you have Hachimura going to the Grizzlies. We all have Hunter going to the Wizards. Pelicans, we have Dave has Langford. Ricky has Garland. I have Hachimura. Hawks taking Keldon Johnson, Bol, Jackson Hayes. And then for the Magic, I have Romeo Langford. Ricky has Romeo Langford, and Dave has Keldon Johnson. So let's just really talk about these guys because mostly all the guys are the same. I think you have Keldon Johnson, Ricky outside of your top 10, but outside of that, everyone else is in the top 10. Also, Jackson Hayes is in your top 10, as long with Bol. But mostly, it's Culver, Garland, Hunter, Hachimura, Johnson, and Langford as the top 10 picks here, or the rest of the top 10. Which guy are you most sold on star potential?
Star potential?
I'm going to say Rui Hachimura. He is a guy to me that I know there's some people out there that are like, I don't like him, but I look at him and he is a guy that to me.
I was itching my nose. I didn't raise my hand.
Will it be right away? No, but I could see it being like and throwing this name out there, I know people are going to go, what? But I'm going to do it anyways. Kind of like a Giannis, where when he was drafted.
If you want to go hear Ricky's take on this, Brian and Swanson's.
I'm just reiterating where it's just
you catch him on the PTP.
Hey, he's going to be drafted top 10, and hey, he's going to turn into something really good when most people were not that high on him.
What is it about that? Because there's obviously the age difference that stands out, as well as the basketball experience, where Giannis was someone who, professional basketball, he got into a little bit later in life than most NBA players. And from a physicality standpoint, like rail thin. Like he needed to put in work to get to where he was to become a very good player, where I think a lot of people think Rui comes into the NBA able to put up, at least role player numbers. He's able to contribute at day one to a team. So.
For me, the big thing is the one thing he's going to have to work on a little bit more is the 3-point shooting. Because like in the college right now, he's only averaging 1 a game.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting 44%, but you're only shooting 1 a game, but it's just when he drives to the basket and his like driving ability to then kick it out. He also gets rebounds. And I know the kick out thing is Ricky's only got 1.7 assists, but like he's a guy that can get you points. He's going to get you rebounds. He's got that length. The thing you just need to work on him, in my mind, is the 3-point shot, which I think he has a shot, so you can work on that, and the defensive side of the game. I think
the biggest difference there, though, is the fact that Giannis is much more of a better athlete, and we saw that even in Greece.
But I'm not, and that's the thing, I'm not comparing the athlete to the athlete. I'm comparing when Giannis was drafted,
no, but I'm saying,
everyone was like, oh, he's not going to pan out, whereas this might be the same thing.
But Giannis, the reason there was doubt with Giannis was because of the lack of body of proof. Rui's had 3 years in college.
Yeah. The reasons are different, but I'm saying it's going to be a similar outcome to where he will be not Giannis level, but a pro to where people are going to go, man, I didn't expect that to pan out.
But the reason why I'm bringing up the fact that I think with Hachimura compared to Giannis, there was more time for Giannis to grow. There wasn't an expectation for him to grow right away, just because the Bucks took him as a project, and even then he impressed way more than he was expected to as the 15th pick. And also he was bigger. He's just he's I think 3 inches taller than Hachimura. Yeah, he's longer than Hachimura as well, and he was just a better athlete. It's just the fact that you look at Giannis, and he was rail thin, like Dave was already expecting. There's no room for Hachimura to grow physically. There was massive room for Giannis to grow physically, as we've seen. He looks like he's on roids. Not saying he is, but holy shit, that guy's jacked as hell. I just don't think there's any much more room for Hachimura to grow physically, and I don't think he's going to become that level of an athlete Giannis is. I think we just didn't expect Giannis's ability to grow. Like, yes, Hachimura can grow his game out better. He can become a better three-point shooter. He can become a better defender, but I don't think he's ever going to be able to get that Giannis level, because yes, Giannis shocked us at the ability for him to become a pro and a starter, but the fact that he's become this big of a star should be absolutely shocking. Just because he came from nowhere, and he just was a complete project, and he came up and is now one of the best players in the NBA. I don't think Hachimura is ever going to reach that level, whether we think it or not. Maybe he becomes a starter, and I'll be wrong about that, but I don't think he's ever going to be a star like Giannis is.
And that's the thing I'll just reiterate. Not saying he's going to be a star like Giannis. I'm just saying he's going to be, to me, he's top 10 because he'll be a good enough pro to be on one of these teams and contribute to them. And the thing that you can look at is some of these teams might be looking for a forward. And for me, yes, he's a little older. He's 21. But those players, it's like they're going to be closer to their prime where it's like, okay, they don't need to work on a lot. There's a few things that obviously everyone's got stuff to work on, but he's closer to the prime, and he comes in as an older player, kind of more of that veteran player coming out of college compared to a raw 18, 19-year-old kid.
I'll tell you, the one reason, and I'm the only person without Rui in my top 10, is
I was close to not putting him there.
I have my concerns about, obviously, his defense, but like, what's his true position? Is he an undersized 4? Is he an oversized 3 with bad feet? Like, where does he fit on your modern NBA team? And that's why I just kept looking. I'm like, I get it. You have basketball skills. Don't get me wrong. I still think you're one of the most talented players in this draft. But like, I look at him and I just don't love the fit of him. And I hope to be surprised, because he kind of reminds me of, and I don't want to do it because Kuzma's been so good, but like Kyle Kuzma-esque. It's like, you're a good scorer in college. You're an outside wing, but Kuzma very happy to take the 3-point shots, and obviously Rui works more inside out.
Yeah.
So different assets there, but it's still like Kuzma is not big enough to really defend 4s, honestly. And I think Rui is going to be in a similar situation.
And I think one thing too, comparing Kyle Kuzma to Hachimura, is one thing that I have liked about Hachimura is his ability to kind of take over games. And obviously they're playing close to similar competition back in college. I think Gonzaga obviously has played bigger names like Duke early on in their non-conference, but at least conference-wise, it has been similar. However, with Hachimura, it is, can he take that into the NBA game? Because yes, right now he has this massive confidence, but he's also a junior. He has become a leader on this team. Can he take that as a rookie and maintain that confidence? Kuzma was drafted onto a team where he was, pretty much he was the oldest player, I think, at least, non-starters.
Out of their core?
Yeah, out of the core, because he was older than Lonzo, he was older than Ingram. Like, he had to be.
It was just Randall, I think, was the only guy.
Maybe, but I think he might have even been older than Randall, right?
They're close. I don't know the dates.
I think because I think Randall was like 23.
Yeah.
But I think he had to be the guy who was the scorer, because Randall wasn't even a scorer. So he was like the oldest guy that you were looking to, at least to be a young player, a rookie to 2 years in, to be a scorer. And I think he just had that confidence to step right away.
Yeah.
Right away. Does Hachimura have that confidence? I think Kuzma has that ability to get red hot and then stay red hot. Does Hachimura have that ability as well?
I don't know if Rui's the best player on his own team.
I agree with that. I think that you can look at Clark and even Norville and see that they might have the better pro potential. Like, Hachimura is fun to watch, right?
He's a very good college player.
He's dominating college, but can he take that in the NBA?
Yeah.
I have serious doubts about that. But a guy that I really don't have that many doubts about outside of, at least his on-court play that I do think is going to be a star is Darius Garland. This kid can stroke it. He's extremely quick. He has that ability to be a scorer, and I think the Grizzlies have the luxury of having Mike Conley on their team, and if they go out and take a Darius Garland, they don't have to rush him back. I don't think they're going to sit him out for the whole year. It's not like a Ben Simmons thing that we always love bringing up. But I do think it is something that you can have him not start right away. You can ease him into the game of basketball, and you have a great mentor to teach him how to be a leader, how to be a great defender, because I think that's something that he's going to lack right away, and also to how to run an offense, because that's something that he really didn't show in his very limited time at Vanderbilt, that he could run an offense and be a facilitator. But he did show his scoring ability.
Yeah, the dude's going to get buckets, and I think he can come in and day one be a shooting guard starter for that Grizzlies team. I think he immediately could take it. As soon as he's healthy enough, he could step in and take that role. Like, he is just that good of a scorer from all three levels. Ball's in his hand, it's magic. So I would love to see someone like Mike Conley, like you said, not only mentor him, but also facilitate for him, put him in those better positions to succeed. And then I am really loving the core of Triple J and Darius Garland together. Like that right there is pretty sexy.
Yeah, especially, it's going to be way easier to find a guy who's 7 feet tall, standing at the top of the key, open for threes to facilitate. But Ricky, you have Garland the lowest. Are you worried just about his injury problem, or is it just not like a fit?
No, it was, for me, it went down to the Grizzly pick where you guys had Garland, where I feel like with Memphis, it comes down to a situation. Number one,
I liked your first take. It was just they need a guy.
They need a guy. And that's basically exactly what it is it's almost like what you said, Dave, about the Cavs. Are the Cavs going to be a good team next year? Nope. Are the Grizzlies going to be a good team next year? Nope. So for me, why, and this is a little bit of kind of being strategic here of if you think Garland's the guy, go ahead and take him. But I'm not completely sold that he's the guy for Memphis, whereas, of course, I'm higher on Rui. That's why I had him there. And that's what I think Memphis could do. Because we got Mike Conley next year, even if we trade him by the trade deadline, a la Gasol, we're still tanking for next year, like tanking, not tanking, kind of a thing. We're not going to be good. Why not get one of these 2-3 players in the draft that are right here, maybe even, let's say a Jackson Hayes kind of creeps up. What if he creeps up on their board? Hey, let's take a Jackson Hayes here. Let's take one of those wing players here, and then we'll worry about point guard after Conley's not on the team.
Is it just the point guard idea, or what I'm trying to get to is what have you seen from Garland that you do not like, or what haven't you seen from Garland that you do not like?
It's not anything of what I have seen from Garland that I don't like. It's they already have Conley on the roster, so there's not a pressing need to get a point. It's not like getting Garland this year, we're going to be a playoff team, or getting Garland this year is the key for us to win the finals. No, it's not that. Like I said, they're going to stink next year,
When has a rookie ever won a team the finals?
I'm just saying, Dave. I'm just saying.
And I was hoping for.
The thing is, it's because that's not the case, let's go with a different position. And the only crux of that is if Garland is number one on the board of free players when that pick comes up, go ahead and take him. But he wasn't for me, and that's why I didn't take him there. Mike Conley's still there. They can trade him next year. They can get veterans, or they can draft a point guard next year.
All right. So we talked about the guy with biggest star power. I guess the other guy that we can throw in there, I mean, unless you guys have a team that you really like the player that you picked there, because I don't think we need to go through every single team.
I mean,
speaking of Garland, the Pelicans.
Okay.
That's the one where,
just because you're interested about the AD stuff?
Well, no, it has nothing to do with the AD stuff.
Really?
Really, to me, it's you're going to have AD on the team. That's what, I'm thinking, unless you move him in the offseason. But if I'm the Pelicans, we still have him under contract.
Draft day.
Yes, I'm talking about draft day. Hopefully we can make it work with AD still because he's under contract, although they'll probably move him in the offseason.
Are you smoking something,
But still, I look at it, and I almost had him go Jackson Hayes here, but then I was like, you know what, Darius Garland is there. When did we see the best Drew that we've seen? When he had a point guard next to him. When Rondo was there, and Rondo could play the 1, Drew could play the 2, why not do a similar thing here where Darius Garland comes in, he's drafted to be the 1, let's slide Drew over to the 2, and then we'll worry about replacing Anthony Davis if we work out a trade later in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Garland can play 1 or 2. I think he's better fit just to be a pure scorer. I don't know if that necessarily means point guard for, whatever team he goes on, but his pairing with Drew Holiday, I mean, at least Drew makes up for him defensively, but Rondo's contribution to that team was to be able to take wide open 3-pointers and facilitate Anthony Davis. He was, and obviously guard, the best guard on the other team. They were able to lock down the Blazers most notably. but I don't know. That's the only concern is just I don't know. Darius Garland doesn't bring defense to the game. Like that's the one area where obviously there's a lot of room for improvement. But yeah, it could work if he's available there for the Pelicans. Sure, absolutely. Because one of the things that in both trade packages we've been rumored, you're either going to end up with Alonzo Ball who doesn't want to be there, or I don't think the Celtics offered any point guards, really.
No, well, it would be Rozier this year, but he's going to be RFA.
They'd have to pay him. If they pay him money, they could offer him up again. But I think that would be a smart move for them to make if Darius Garland was still available then. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that at least looking at the Pelicans, I think they're interesting just because of AD. I mean, he's your player. He's your franchise. If he's still on your team and you're not thinking you're going to trade him until the trade deadline going into the next year, I think you do have to take that into consideration. I just looked at it and I had him going with Hachimura. It was really just because I think that, like you mentioned, his star potential is present. I'm not sold on it too much, and I think I'm more on leaning towards Dave of putting him down outside of the lottery just because I'm not sold on that star potential as much. But also if he is being drafted and he's going to be playing next to Anthony Davis, I think teams are going to have to focus on him more. Maybe his athleticism, his size can win out a little bit offensively, and having a guy like Anthony Davis could cover up his defense. Now, obviously, that's going to change when Anthony Davis is not on the team at some point. But also, Garland was off the board for me, so I didn't think they had a guard fit, really. I don't think Keldon Johnson really works with that team because, again, we keep talking about Drew Holiday. He's not really a great point guard in the traditional sense. He's a great guard, but is he a great point guard? I don't think so. And then just having Keldon Johnson there, I don't think it's the smartest move, and I don't think there's a guy like even Romeo Langford.
What's wrong with Romeo?
Well, he's not. I don't think because you have Romeo going.
Yeah, screw it. Give me two big guards. Both of them can facilitate. Both of them can score, and I think
I just don't think
he's a 3-level scorer. If
Romeo being a great catch and shooter.
I don't know if he's going to be a great catch and shooter. He's yet to have someone on his team who can truly facilitate him. He's a get it all done himself kind of guy. So being put on a team where you would have a Drew Holiday to help set you up, Randall with those inside-out passes, I think that could be successful for him. And I like the pairing of having two big guards because if you can teach him to stay engaged on defense throughout a whole game, and Drew and him, two very long, very big guards, could be menacing for that West.
Only thing with Randall is he does have a player option going into this year, and he might decline it because he's only making $9 million. So
that's true.
I think you can get a lot more on the open market.
Yeah, I know he's a very good passer from the low post, so I want to give him some credit.
You got a team that you liked your pick too. We pretty much already talked about the Grizzlies. We talked about the Pelicans. You want to talk about the?
The Wizards
Hawks
are boring, so I'm gonna pass on that.
I was confused what to do with them.
Well, I think the idea
they're either replacing John Wall, and by replacing I mean you have to draft someone young who's going to be there in a couple years because you're still stuck paying John Wall $47 million in 3 years. Or you're going for wing depth because you just gave away Otto Porter. You got two fours on your team in Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis, who you don't have to pay next year if you don't want to. So that means you have an opportunity there. And the guy with the best floor in the draft is DeAndre Hunter.
Well, and I think that too is, I mean, you're going to have Bradley Beal for 2 more years.
Yep.
So unless you're waiting until the last year to trade him or even possibly looking to re-sign him, you get to that second year of that Beal contract, you're going to have John Wall, Bradley Beal, and then DeAndre Hunter, who is pretty much looking like bust-proof. It's just, is he going to be a starter or is he just going to be a role player?
Right.
And I think if he is a starter, then you have a pretty nasty combo if John Wall comes back healthy at the 1, 2, and 3 of John Wall, Bradley Beal, and DeAndre Hunter, a guy who can work off that and probably would be better than an Otto Porter, at least in that situation, because I don't think he is a guy who can work with the ball in his hands and put up 37 a night ever in the NBA.
No, I get. Well, we didn't know Otto could do that.
Yeah,
that's the funny thing
for
because
sure.
We watched
Otto
play
was
with
Otto was a 3rd pick in the draft. Like he had more potential than I think DeAndre Hunter did.
I absolutely agree, but Otto was one of those guys where when John Wall had gone out the year before, we didn't see him really step up and be a 20-plus point a game scorer. Sure. And then obviously Bradley Beal has been playing absolutely phenomenally, one-man team in it. So yeah, I get it. It's just I think he's had a couple of those opportunities on that Wizards team and it didn't work out for him. So I'm thrilled to see him succeed here. I think Hunter is basically the plug-and-play wing that everybody wants on their team, and I think that he is exactly what this team needs is stability because they have had none of it, and I think the pick is almost too logical for this team, and they might just go crazy and take, like, Bol here. I'm not even kidding. Like, that is a serious concern for me is I think that Ernie Grunfeld, right?
Yes. He might be I'll look it up.
Yeah. whatever the decision is, or whoever comes down to, I
Yes,
have
it
a
is
fear.
Grunfeld.
Yeah, I have a fear that Grunfeld could do something crazy here because he's just their pick last year was Troy Brown Jr. and he can't even sniff the floor. So I'm thinking we're just going wild card bitches on this thing.
But even then, like, Ernie Grunfeld wasn't the only person like Troy Brown.
No,
so I can't really blast him for that.
But the fact that they can't even figure out how to put him on the floor, give him a chance to succeed, that's on them.
That's more on who.
Yeah, your
Scotty
favorite coach.
Brooks.
Favorite coach.
So I just look with the Wizards. It's pretty undeniable you can't really not play DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah.
I think he has that skill level to just plug in and play.
Absolutely.
And I think even Scotty Brooks can't overlook that. Looking at mine, though, I think the Hawks are probably the most interesting team in this.
Yeah.
Because when we look at the Magic, we all looked at that two-guard position because we most likely think that Fournier is going to be gone. They have Isaac, they have Gordon, they have Bamba. Their front court for the next 5 years is pretty much set up, and it's going to go. We look at the number one spot. They just got Markelle Fultz, and there isn't even a point guard to take at this spot. So really, you're just looking at the two-guard. Romeo Langford was available for just only me, at least for that two-guard, because Keldon Johnson went with the Hawks pick.
Ricky chose Romeo there.
Yeah, Ricky went Romeo over Keldon, and then you went Keldon because Romeo was off the board. So, Ricky, I'll go to you after this. But the Hawks were at least the most interesting just because you have that pick. You already took a player at 5. We all took Culver. So it's really, you have bullets to play with. Ricky showed that, taking Bol, but then also, what else could you add to this team? What is this team missing? So, Ricky, when you were looking at this team, clearly you were thinking they were missing a 5. What did Bol bring to the table that attracted you to them?
For me, I just looked at it where I was looking at the 5 position. I almost agreed with Dave. I almost put Jackson Hayes there. But I thought, I'm like, okay, you got 2 picks in the top 10. Think about what we were saying about Bol before the injury. He was a top 10 pick. Like, he was in our top 10.
Yeah, he was somewhere between 4 and 7.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like, he was not going to fall out of the top 10. So it's not like we were questioning his game. Right now, we're just questioning his health. How is he going to come back from it? Will his body be able to stand up? And Hawk fans, you might not like this. Like, this was a risk pick for me. Hey, we got this pick by the Luka trade. Let's go ahead and roll the dice. And this could be one where he's a guy that can shoot from the outside, works well in transition. We're trying to model a Warriors where we've got Herter out there. The nickname is
Red Velvet.
Red Velvet. We got Trae Young out there. Like, we drafted those guys to be a transition, a high-scoring team. Let's go ahead, roll the dice, and go with a ball, even though there's the question, the risk, will that body hold up with the injury?
For me, I understand you're thinking that's just too much of a question for me. And I think that the Hawks have very precious bullets where if they make this pick hit, that could change their franchise. Where I have them going later, that's a team that really, if it doesn't hit, doesn't affect them because they're going to be where they are no matter what. But with the Hawks, I think that if you get a guy and he hits, that could be your core. And you're already set, and you just need to make sure these guys get a little bit older, they get more comfortable playing, and they grow and progress. We've seen Trae Young grow and progress in front of our eyes this season.
He still can't play like a defense, but the man is a maestro on offense. He directs traffic.
Do we expect him to play defense, though?
No,
because he's 5'4".
He's got the wingspan of a T-Rex.
Ugliest face I've ever seen. Haircut combo. It's really bad.
He wasn't
really
blessed
bad.
with great genes in the hair department. But with the Hawks, I think that Dave and I at least went with that idea of this might be a pick that can hit. You went with Jackson Hayes, which I thought was a little bit interesting. You defended it well, though.
I think that he is an ideal fit next to
John Collins.
What's his nickname? Is it the Pastor? It's the something else.
I don't know.
But yeah. I love John Collins. His energy offensively is incredible. He's going to be a 20-point-a-game scorer. He's already like a 19-point scorer.
The Baptist.
The Baptist. Thank you. Pastor Baptist. John the Baptist. Come on. So
that would be the joke. Dave.
Thank you. I had to say it out loud for my brain to click. Screw you, man. No, I love the fit. I think that he is a monster defensively. He's young. He is aggressive. He guards the rim extremely well. He's a perfect fit. And I think the best thing about him is the fact that he does not need to be a high usage guy like some of the other centers later in this draft. We've seen the success out of him on the defensive end, and if he does get the touches, he's very efficient with them, which is incredible because this is a team that they have a lot of mouths to feed next year. They've got a lot of great shooters, and you want to make the most of those opportunities. And I think John Collins is modeling his game, a la Amari Stoudemire style. He is just so good offensively. I don't want a 5 who takes away from that. I want a 5 who can cover up for his deficiencies defensively and ensure that on the low post, you got no troubles, no worries. You got somebody who can play that help defense, swat shots near the net. I just absolutely love this kid, and he jumped up my board. I'll admit it. Like, he was not a lottery pick at the start of this year for me, but what I've seen out of him this year, just Texas knows how to make centers.
Yeah,
we just admit it. That's
well, I'm gonna be
Shaka
asshole
smart, right?
that I was the first person to put him up there. I had him in the 1.0 going to the Warriors at 28. But yeah, I mean his athleticism is undeniable.
Yeah,
and you're 100% right about at least Texas bringing out these stars, even at centers. Because even when Jared Allen was drafted, he was even slept on. Because most people are like, oh, Justin Patton's better because he could score more. But it's like you look at Justin Patton, he wasn't able to rebound, and Jared Allen was out here showing crazy athletic plays, doing exactly what he was doing right now in the NBA, blocking shots around the rim, being a great rim protector,
blocking LeBron. No big deal.
He wasn't able to block the great Marquise Chris though. He jammed that home on him, but
he does have a fro. Which is, I love the take back, both Dinwiddie and he.
But Jackson Hayes, I think he's very much in the same vein of a Jared Allen, and they seem very similar types of players. The only worry that I had was the fact that you brought up, John Collins and Jackson Hayes next to each other. Mm-hmm. I think spacing would be limited, just because I think while John Collins can stretch it out to 16 feet, I think he is better working close to the basket, and that's one thing that do you want to take away your probably second best offensive player just because you're drafting a young guy? Defensively, I think it would work. But then again, are they too big in some ways? But also, if you draft Jackson Hayes, does he need to start right away for your team? I think if you even have Dwayne Dedmon next year, because I'm not really sure about his contract, you could probably even have him come off the bench and still have Dedmon at the 5. But I think that, or even have Collins play at the 5 and then.
I mean, it's a transitional thing. I think that's the best thing. Like, even, we talked about Jared Allen. He needed someone in front of him to start it going, because it was like, you need to get your feet wet as a center in the NBA. You're going to be taking bumps. You're going to be, bodying guys down low who have size, have muscle mass on you, just purely from an age standpoint. So, give Jackson Hayes a year or two to build up his strength. Dude is going to be a monster.
Mm-hmm. I just think, looking at my mock draft, I think Keldon Johnson's probably the smartest pick for them, because if we're talking about expanding the ability, they're expanding their shot horizon. Mm-hmm. I think adding another shooter to that starting lineup would be absolutely deadly. And there's talks about Taurean Prince not being there coming up soon. They were looking to trade him this year. I think that opens up a spot at the 3. Kent Bazemore really can play himself out of that lineup. And really, Herter hasn't been a starter for them. He hasn't really been getting.
They bounced him around a lot, but I think they're still trying to figure out the rotation. I like Keldon Johnson's versatility.
Yeah, and
he's a good two-way player.
He can play the 2 or the 3 too. And
yeah.
I think he's 6'6", probably going to be like 6'7" at the draft. I think he has the size to play a 3. He can defend the 2 or the 3. And I think having those 3 out there, if that is going to be your ultimate starting lineup of Trae Young,
Jarrett Culver. You just drafted Jarrett Culver earlier. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing.
I'm going to be honest with you. I totally forgot that I drafted Jarrett Culver.
And that's another thing that played into it. Also...
But you never have enough wings, right?
You need more wings.
And I know this is second-round picks, but and I expect some of these to be traded. They got 3. They got 3 second-round picks this year.
They got
5 total
in the
picks
chamber.
in 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could make a trade. Because last year they took Devontae Graham but traded it to Charlotte.
Yeah. I just don't know what, Jackson Hayes is available. I just don't know what other big they would go with. I think that's where I came down to. Because, maybe they go Sekou, and they could take the shot at Sekou just because it is the Mavs pick, and they can stash him or at least, ease him into NBA play. Mm-hmm. I think that would be the other pick I would have him going with. But even then, even though I had Jarrett Culver
or do they
going
take
there,
that Mavs pick and they trade back?
Maybe, but we're not doing that in this NBA draft.
No, I know.
I'm just for
a discussion.
Talking about
trade back?
Talking about the Culver and Johnson thing. I think that I still like the pick there, although I have Culver going there, just because that gives you so much fluidity and also will help you have another guy who can play great defense. And that way you can have Herter, Trae Young out there with a guy like Culver who's playing pretty great defense so far on Texas, and then even with Keldon Johnson as well. And when it comes to late minute time, you can take good old Kevin Herter off, and then you could add in a Culver or Keldon Johnson, play those 2 out there, and then you have massive flexibility when it comes to guarding wings and guards. So I think that would be my defense there is, yes, Herter, Trae Young, Culver, and Johnson are all guards, and then you also have to play in the fact of Bazemore and Taurean Prince, but those guys can be moved with even second-round picks to move up into the draft. So I think that could be something, and you can even go and take a shot on a guy like Bol Bol or Sekou or even Jonte Porter, depending on where you land. So I think that would be my defense of the Keldon Johnson pick for the Hawks would just be you have so much versatility now with your guards and wings.
And that's the thing. At this point in their rebuild, like, take shots. Don't care about redundancy. Take the best players that you think will fit to what your future build plan is. Yeah. So I think that's safe.
All right. So what was the question you brought up, though?
Just could they take that Mavs pick and trade back? Like, a la what they did with the Mavs last year. Like, if there's a team like the T-Wolves or the Heat or even the Lakers that want to trade
What do you
up,
think the need to is to drop 4 spots, though?
if they're, for me, it looks like I'll say Jackson Hayes, because I had him go a little bit later in the first round. If it's like, hey, I really like Jackson Hayes, the T-Wolves want to switch with us, they're at 12, he could still be there. All right, we'll take who the T-Wolves want, a Keldon Johnson, maybe I just threw a name out there. And then, Jackson Hayes is there, all right, take him for us, and we switch the rights.
I feel like 5 through 15 in this draft is interchangeable, like, to an extent. Like, there's a lot of guys that there's cases to be made for. I think it's a very narrow margin between them, in all honesty.
Yeah, I just don't know if you look at that 9 to, let's say, 12 jump, like, what are you actually going to get from the T-Wolves? Because I don't think you're going to get a first for that jump at all. I think it's just going to be like you're going to get another second, and then that way, do you want to passively pass up on the guy you like the most?
3 seconds already this year.
Yeah.
So.
Do you want to pass up on the possibility of getting the guy you like the most? Because, like, hey, maybe we do like Keldon Johnson at 9, but will he be there at 12? I think that's playing a risky game there. Anyways, that's going to do it on 1 through 10, unless you guys have any other thoughts.
Nope, all good.
Okay.
Chief.
I don't know. Like, Ricky wasn't looking at me.
I was looking at a trade.
What is it?
Just to see, because you threw out the what would you get for that. I was just looking last year to see what, like, the Clippers got in theirs, because that was in the similar range, and what the Cavs got, but I'm unable to pull it up right now.
The Cavs.
Yeah, because it says
The Cavs got that in the Kyrie trade.
Oh, that's right. Then the Shea trade.
Yeah, I think that was a second rounder. I think. I'm not entirely sure. Because I don't think they gave up a future first.
2 future seconds.
Okay. Because it was like a one trade flip. Anyways, that's going to do it through 1 through 10. Again, don't forget to put your comments down in the section below. Let us know what you think about our 1 through 10. What players do you like? What player picks do you not like? Which players do you think have the most star potential? Let us know down in the comments below.